Oh boy, we're actually going to do this. I'm gonna try to keep this simple, but so Sucker Punch just said that nobody is working on anything Infamous or Sly Cooper related, and it just basically confirms my suspicions that even though a lot of people love Infamous and Sly Cooper, they're not exactly money makers, or they do make money, just not enough. Like it's not what Sony expects from its AAA developers, because I think Sucker Punch after Ghost of Tsushima they just identified themselves or elevated themselves to AAA status. And we all know what Sony wants from their AAA developers. They want them to make, basically Uncharted 4, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima. Games that have gameplay, but they're more story based. Now, I know that there's Spider-Man and Sucker Punch did Infamous, but Infamous doesn't have the luxury that Spider-Man has, even though it's a superhero game. Spider-Man is Spider-Man. I mean, come on, that Spider-Man is holy. That series transcends time and space. So they had a Spider-Man game, then Miles Morales, and now Spider-Man 2 coming. So they're gonna leverage that IP more and more now. Even though they should have been doing it before, they just didn't give it to a good developer. So shout out to Insomniac Games. But yeah, Infamous, Spider-Man, they don't equate to each other. Infamous, this news just basically tells me that now while it's true, Sony owns Sucker Punch and they own Infamous and Sly Cooper. And even though Sucker Punch just said that nobody's working on any Infamous and Sly Cooper games, yeah, I mean, Sony could have given Infamous or Sly Cooper to somebody else, and Sucker Punch doesn't know. And then something new Sly Cooper is announced, or something new Infamous is announced. Sucker Punch can be the first to know, just like us. They could be like, wow, we didn't even know they were making an Infamous game, because the IP, again, goes back to Sony. But in this case, I highly doubt it, unfortunately. Now, I just would like to say, Infamous 1, Infamous 2, and even Infamous Second Son are some of my favorite games of all time. Infamous 1 in particular is, in my opinion, is one of the greatest games ever made. It's not even close to other games. Like, it's definitely, I wouldn't say top 10 material, top 5 material, but it's definitely top 10. But if you haven't played it, oh boy, you're in for one hell of a ride. Now, I know I left out Infamous 2 there, but I love both games. It's just, for me, Infamous 1 was more of the complete package. It has amazing gameplay, and it had an amazing story. Infamous 2 had the better gameplay. Infamous 2 played better than Infamous 1. But aside from the ending, which was amazing in Infamous 2, the beginning to the end journey, the story was kind of underwhelming for me personally. I thought the story in Infamous 1 was better executed from start to finish, while Infamous 2 went out with a bang. So, Infamous and Sly Cooper. A lot of people love those games, me included. I grew up playing Sly Cooper. It's just, I've always felt that they were never blockbuster games to the extent of like Crash Bandicoot, for example, for Sly Cooper, or Spider-Man for Infamous. It's almost just enough to just leave them be, which just breaks my heart, because Infamous 1, oh my god, it's so much better than God of War and Uncharted 4 and Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, something happened in the PS4 and PS5 generation where games switched from being focused on the gameplay, but much less Horizon Zero Dawn, because that's an open world game, so that has plenty of gameplay, but more so Uncharted 4 and God of War 2018. God of War, I liked God of War. Can't say the same thing about Uncharted 4, but those games have way too much talking and way too much walking for my taste. Like, I find the older I get, the more I just want to play. Now, I know the opposite is supposed to happen. Like, the older you get, the more you want to, the more you get from stories, they make you emotional. But I'm the opposite. Like, the older I get, I'm just like, people, I don't have enough time. I'm going to die soon, like, let me play. And that's what Infamous was. It had a good story, but the gameplay, like the pleasure you got from the gameplay and how complex it is and the shit you can do is just way more enjoyable than anything they make today. And I'm just saddened by this. It really just breaks my heart. I mean, they did say that they're going to work on keeping the servers for Infamous 2 alive for a little while longer, as well as the Infamous Second Son Cole's Legacy DLC, which was, if I remember correctly, that DLC was insane. You had to go to a website, get some sort of hint or something for it to activate in the game. I don't remember exactly what you had to do, but it was like you had to do stuff outside the game to access the DLC in the game, which I guess makes sense. They'd want to, find a way to put it back in and into the game. And And here's the thing, I've always freaking had my suspicions about Infamous, that Sucker Punch doesn't like the series. Or more so, they don't like Cole McGrath. Here's the thing, if you are alive, or remember, well, chances are you were alive, but if you remember, Infamous 1 got great reception. Cole did not get a good reception in Infamous 1. People said his voice is too gravelly, he's not he's not relatable, but I loved him in Infamous 1. He came off more like Solid Snake. And then in Infamous 2, oh boy, when they announced that E3 trailer, you know, the one where he had hair in it, because they were trying to make him more relatable by making him more like Nathan Drake, and then people had the backlash, and then they made him bald again, and they toned down his personality, but he still was not the Cole from Infamous 1, but I still liked him in Infamous 2. I thought his evolution was natural from 1 to 2, but I still like the one in Infamous 1 way more than Infamous 2. But this just tells me that Sucker Punch just didn't know what to do with the characters. Like, you know, like they kept, like, look at Ghost of Tsushima. They were praised on all fronts when it came to that game. Aside from the, you know, people criticize the game because it's set in Japan and Sucker Punch is not Japanese, which is insane to me. Really, that's your problem? Like, play the game, dude. Just play the game. You know? So they got criticism on that side, but from the people where it mattered, people loved the game, and they had no complaints about it. And that's what is the problem with Infamous. Like they got a lot of complaints about certain aspects, E3 backlash. That's what happened with Infamous. As for Sly Cooper, I just think this series does not sell well enough for Sony for them to want to make another one, which it breaks my heart. Come on, Sly Cooper, dude. Sly Cooper 1 is one of the greatest games ever made. 2 and 3, they were very good. They were excellent games, because I know more people love the second one is the fan favorite. But for me, I love 1, 3, and 2. That's the order I'm gonna go with. But 2 and 3 are very close, so it's not like I'm putting 2 at the bottom because it's worse or any. No, they're all the games are amazing. So yeah, and that's what I really think. Are we gonna get anything more regarding Infamous and Sly Cooper? Well, here's what I'm gonna say. We got a Sly Cooper remake, remaster, and we got a sequel, Thieves in Time. As for Infamous, we got nothing. Nothing. Zip, nada, jack shit. That's what we got. We didn't even get a remaster. Like, if you wanted a sign that Infamous is never coming back, we didn't even get a remaster of Infamous 1 and 2. Like, if you want to play Infamous 1, you can either go PlayStation Now, or you can get an original copy of the PlayStation 3 version, and in either cases, you're stuck with 30 FPS, 720p, which would normally be okay if the game held that frame rate, and it was full of pop-in issues. Like, that game, it's amazing it ran on the PS3. And even more amazing that it was as amazing as it was, because it did have technical problems. But nothing that's not obviously playable. Like, the game is playable from beginning to end. It's just the frame rate and the pop-in issues. The frame rate is more stable than the pop-in. The pop-in is bananas, basically. That's all I have to say. But it's still a great game. It's still something you should try out. This breaks my heart. I wish they'd work on the game again. Maybe advertise it next to Spider-Man, like, because that's the thing. That's the crazy thing. You guys have a superhero game that's one of the best games ever made, and Spider-Man is a hit. Like, advertise both. You know, you can have this happy superhero game in Spider-Man, Marvel, or do you want a gritty superhero game? Have Infamous. Just advertising the games next to each other and then releasing them like 6 months apart will do a world of difference. There's a market for Infamous. I'm just gonna end it here. It's one of the greatest games I've ever played, and it's one of the greatest games ever made. And Sony is insane to let it rest like that. Oh my God, Sony. I'm just exhausted of this. Like, I'm just giving up hope that Dark Cloud 3 is ever gonna happen, and I'm also giving up hope that and sequel to Infamous is ever gonna happen. And I hope I'm wrong on both accounts. Even Sly Cooper is in this as well. I hope I'm wrong on all 3 accounts. And if I'm not, well, like I said, I'm getting older, even though I don't look like it. Like, I feel older, god damn it. And I hope in my lifetime I see a sequel to those games. So yeah, I'm gonna end this here. Thank you guys for watching. I mean, well, before I end that, like, what do you guys think about this? Do you guys have hope? Have you given up hope? What are some of your like Infamous favorite Infamous memories? Well, for me, it's the first game I ever platinumed, Infamous 1, and it's always gonna hold a special place in my heart. So yeah, with that, thank you guys for watching. Take care. Have a good night. I'll catch you guys next time.